Hi there, favorite class. This is a Digital Day vocabulary science tune-up that I want to get you going on. What you're going to need is either some index cards or maybe some paper you can cut into something like index cards. I'm going to make some vocabulary flashcards. This genetics we've been talking about the last couple of days has a ton of vocabulary. So we're going to make some flashcards today and end up putting those in your envelopes from last time and rerunning some of that vocabulary so you're really comfortable with this stuff as we go. So if you want to pause here and get what you need, either index cards if you've got those or something you can make flashcards on, or you can cut a piece of paper into fours and say and make flashcards that way. Just get what you need and unpause and we'll get to it. So I'm just doing a test question. I'm going to show you why this is so important. This is a test question about genetics. Take a moment and look at it. It looks like impossibly hard, right? Like the vocabulary is just like stunning sometimes in this. Like this is a complicated vocabulary word. This is a complicated vocabulary word. Complicated vocabulary word. Complicated vocabulary word. And then you even go into the answer choices and you've got words like allele, inherit, things like that. And so just a ton of vocabulary. This is, believe it or not that difficult of a question if you know all the words. But this is kind of what test questions are like, and this is why vocabulary is so important here. I hate for you to miss questions you would actually know the answer to just because you don't know words in the questions. So today we're going to really carefully review and be prepared to help memorize some of these new vocabulary words that keep coming up, so that when you see a question like this, when it's time to do this for real, you're confident with these words and none of the words hold you up from missing the question. So here's the list we're going to do if you want to make a list for yourself or something like that. We're going to do them in groups. Here's the words that I think have come up in the last few days that are important to know. We're going to do them in chunks. And we're going to start with the top two. These two kind of go together first, genetics and heredity. So I want you to know those two words first. So grab two flashcards and we're going to start those first because, again, they kind of go together. And let's start with heredity. So here it is. This is for your flashcard. Yeah, I would put the word on the front and the definition on the back. As I do these, remember that flashcards are for you. They are not for me. So they need to be something that will help you remember this and help you study it. So if you need to change a few words to fit your own understanding better, as I say this, do it. These are for you. They're not for me. They don't have to match exactly if you can remember them better another way. So here's heredity. First, we're going to start with that. Heredity is the passing on of certain physical and behavioral characteristics from parent to offspring. That's what it is. That's the definition, is that first sentence. A little more explanation. Heredity is the reason the offspring of any organism tend to resemble their parents in certain ways. That is what heredity means. It is this fact of life that parents of all organisms, plants, animals, whatever, pass on certain characteristics to their offspring. That is a fact of biology, and we've learned a lot about it over the years, and that is what heredity is. So pause here until you have a flashcard that you are pleased with. Pause when you're ready for the next one. So the other word in this list I wanted to put with heredity is the fact that parents pass traits to their offspring, is genetics. Genetics is the study of heredity. That's all it means. So the study of this fact of biology is called heredity. Scientists who study heredity are called geneticists. Very cool branch of biology with lots of cool cutting edge stuff going on. So different branches of science have different names. So, we in life science, we learn biology. You don't have to write this. This is like an overall part. Some biologists study genetics. Some biologists study ecology. It's like another part. There are also biologists who study certain cellular things, cellular biology. It's just like a branch of biology is called genetics. So genetics is the study of heredity. And heredity is the fact that parents pass characteristics of their offspring. Pause here. Make this your next card if you need to. And unpause when you're ready for the next part. So that is group 1. Genetics and heredity, I feel, go together. Genetics is the study of heredity, so those kind of go together nicely. The next group I want to put together is these two, inherit and trait. On Friday, we talked about this, that any organism inherits certain traits and inherits certain behaviors from their parents. That's what inherited means. It means like from parent, passed from parent. And then they also acquire certain traits and acquire certain behaviors. So this one's people. If you want to imagine thinking about these 4 things of people. Examples of inherited traits. Remember, traits are physical characteristics. Are like your height and your nose shape. Those are traits that you inherit from parents. Inherited behaviors we often call instincts. These are things that happen without really having to learn them. Behaviors that happen without really learn them, like breathing and crying, for instance, just happen instinctively. You inherit the ability to do those things from your parents. Acquired traits and behaviors are things that you kind of gain or choose through life. So in people, that'd be things like your hair length. You don't inherit your hair length. You control your hair length by cutting it or not. Scars are also an acquired trait. They're a physical feature, but they're not because you didn't receive them in your birth from your parents. They're things that happen to you over the course of your life. And then if you have children, you don't pass your scars down to them. That's inherited traits do get passed from parent to offspring. Acquired ones don't. And same with behaviors. Behaviors that are acquired are often just called learned. Things that you learn how to do, like speak a language, play a sport, things like that. Those are behaviors you do. You've acquired that ability by practicing and learning and things like that, rather than inheriting them from your parents. So the words you need to know, before I get to the words, this is not only true of people, is a big thing I want to make sure you understand. This is any organism. So this one I did like trees. Trees have these 4 categories of characteristics as well. They inherit traits like the height of the tree and the shape of the leaf from their parent tree. They inherit even behaviors, which is kind of weird, like absorbing water. I would call that a behavior more than a trait, or photosynthesizing light into food. Those are inherited behaviors. Trees are able to do that because it's in their genetics, passed down from their parent trees. They can also acquire some traits like, I don't know, woodpecker holes or broken branches, things that happen to the tree as it's alive. They're not inherited. They're acquired. They happen to it. Acquired behaviors, that I don't think trees have, to my knowledge. It's possible. Acquired behaviors only happen in organisms that have a pretty advanced nervous system. So even animals that have behaviors, you might think they learn, they don't. A lot of organisms aren't capable of learning anything. They don't have an advanced enough brain to do that. So in those cases, all of their behaviors are instincts and they don't have these, possibly. But the main thing is this and this don't only happen in people, they happen in all organisms. So let's get those 2 words down next. A trait off our list is a physical characteristic. That's it. A trait is some physical characteristic on the body of the organism. In people, that would be things like eye color, ear size, arm length, and nail color. Notice this one is acquired. It's not inherited, but it is still a trait. It doesn't have to be inherited to be a trait. But we often think of them that way, and those are the ones we're going to mostly be talking about in genetics, since acquired traits are not genetic. Non-examples, those are like the things we called behaviors on the last slides, like handwriting or the accent you speak in. Those are learned or acquired, and they are behaviors. They are not traits. So a trait is just a physical characteristic. Go ahead and make your index card of that if you want. You may just need this if you really feel like you understand that word, or you're welcome to add the examples to your card if you think you need to do that as well. The last one in this portion of the video, inherited. Inherited means, maybe it's not the last one, I can't remember. We'll see in a minute. The last one here, inherited, at least in this group, inherited means passed from parents to offspring. So traits and behaviors can both be inherited. Examples of things that are inherited I have brown eyes because I received brown eye genes from my parents, for me personally. Um, that is an inherited trait of mine, is the color of my eyes. I didn't acquire that. I didn't have any control over that. I didn't have any choice in that. That's what color my eyes were because I received that genetic info from my parents. Non-example, I have a short thumb. I'll have to show you. You have to believe me. I cut the top of one of my thumbs off when I was little. So I have one thumb that is shorter than the other. That is not inherited. It is a trait. It is not inherited. That's something I acquired by slamming my thumb in a gate when I was 3 or 4 years old. So that would not be inherited. It's a non-example. So inherited means passed from parent to offspring. If you will, please pause here and make this index card and unpause when you're ready. Okay. So we've done these two in a group, and we have also done these two in a group. Group 3, the next ones that kind of go together are chromosomes, genes, and DNA. I have a video that is not mine for you to watch before this. So I want you to find on eClass, there are those like next and previous buttons. I want you to press your next button. It's going to take you to a video about these words that isn't from me. You don't have to write anything down while you watch that, though you're welcome to if you care to and you find it interesting. And then I'll come back and have you make flashcards for group 3 set of words when you get back after that.